Happy Monday. We got a few minutes of wagon talk here today. So April 02 525i Touring came in today for a BlueBus install. And generally the BlueBus installation and setup with phone and microphone is about a half-hour labor. Give or take, each car is a little bit different. And for some reason, about every third time I install a BlueBus, we run into some issue that no one's ever seen before, including the developer Ted, and we've got to get on the phone or text for an hour and figure out what the hell's weird. So this time it was about 3 hours to install a BlueBus and get the phone working. It was plug and play to get 90% of it, but once you want the phone kit and hands-free integration, that's what was not working. And everything worked except the microphone, which is kind of an important part of having a call with somebody, is for that to work both ways. So this wagon, April 02 facelift, they put the connector about a foot behind the carpeting on the left side of the trunk, kind of on the quarter panel. And I could reach in there and touch the black 54-pin connector. I can reach in there and touch that and open it up and plug it in, but it wasn't long enough to pull the wires out to have it mount in the BlueBus where I wanted to mount the BlueBus on the non-DSP hi-fi audio system basic amplifier. So to take out the carpet panel, you start by removing the carpet floor of the wagon, and then you've got to move inside and remove this C-pillar on the left side, and then that exposes a screw, and then you remove another piece of trim, and that exposes another screw, and you remove that piece of trim, and that exposes a Torx 30, and then you take the Torx 30 out, and boom, now you've got your carpet out. That's about 25 minutes in 100-degree heat in the sun, because the shop is full of cars from customers who won't pick them up that are ready for pickup but can't be put outside because they're clean and freshly detailed. Frustrating. So finally I get the carpeting off and we're looking at all the wiring, and it's only the black connector, no blue one. The blue one is the SES 26 pin, something like that all E39s are supposed to have, but I couldn't find it on the wagon. So I was hoping that as we got the carpeting off, we would find some more zip ties back there to cut and pull the wiring out and back into the little left oddments door where the amp is and where the CD changer would be. But no, that's as far as the cable goes. I cut the zip tie, it moved another ½ inch, that's it. It just lives that far back up into behind the trim, behind the carpeting, in that little cavity. So the BlueBus has to sit at a weird angle unless you buy a certain Touring, like he would have to make a Touring adapter that just adds an extra 6 or 10 inches of wiring. Yes, you could custom make that. Yes, it would be a pain in the ass. So finally we reassemble all that, we get in the car, we test the phone, we're not getting anything from the microphone. I try a different microphone, we chase the wires, everything's fine. Why doesn't it work? Well, talk to Ted a little bit and he's like, well, every US E39 should have the blue connector somewhere. Start taking the trunk apart. So here we go. So we're taking out all the trim in the trunk, and you got to have these little latches that flip up, and there's a plastic door, and you remove the plastic door, and then there's a 4mm Allen, and you take the Allens out. Now you got the rear carpeting out just behind the folding seats, up against the folding seats, but in the trunk cargo area. And as you get that out, you find the cavity where the navigation radio would go. This particular 525 wagon did not have navigation or DSP. It was just like a base hi-fi car with an MID. And in there, where the BM53 would be if it had nav, there's the blue connector without a jumper in it. So when you have a blue connector, use it. If you don't want to use it and you use the black one, then you have to have the little jumper adapter in there. So I plug the jumper in, boom, everything works as it should. So lesson learned, don't spend 3 hours. Take your trunk carpeting out. If you have non-nav, if it's an 02 plus, if it's hi-fi, and plug in the freaking jumper. It's shit like this that, how many E39s exist in the US in that specific spec? Probably 50. And here's the first one that's ever getting a BlueBus, and you just have to tear shit apart and figure it out till it works. And even Ted's like, yeah, no one's ever asked me this before. And that would be the logical thing to do, is you see the black connector in that left rear oddments area, and you plug it in and it doesn't work because you need a jumper. Thankfully, I have acquired jumpers from multiple junkyard visits, and I see them in there, and I know that, like, hey, if I'm ever out of the blue connector and I have the black one, which I'm almost out right now, I'm going to need the jumper. So there's 4 minutes wasted that you'll never get back. Now you've learned something that you'll never need. Otherwise, today, Monday, it was an email day, a communication day, a phone call day. I talked to a million people. We got a bunch of shit done. Mike and Alan and Gary worked on the M6 and the M5, E60 and E63. They're in there for manual conversions. We got the drive shaft back for the M6. It is wrong. The length is proper, everything's right until you try to bolt the front of the drive shaft, the input flange, up to the transmission flex disc. And it's the wrong shape, it's the wrong size. We tried with the old flex disc. You can get one bolt in, then the other two don't match. pain in the ass. So we have to call them. They're gonna have to make another one in Los Angeles and ship it down here, and just say no one can do their job right. So I'm the one explaining to the customer why there's delays and trying to manage the shop when, okay, we were supposed to do this, now we can't, we gotta move, we gotta switch gears and do something else. I have now been trying every day for a week to get in there and do the wiring and the coding on these cars so we can start at least preliminary test driving and scanning for codes and figuring out all that shit. And it just doesn't happen. Every day I get in there and I have a backlog of communication and admin stuff that has to be done and takes priority over the meat and potatoes work of, okay, we got to chase 60 wires and pin this DME for manual. So tomorrow the objective is to kind of back burner all the communications, which annoys people, but there's only one of me. I can't reproduce myself. If I could, I'd have my own house in Rancho Santa Fe. But we'll go in early tomorrow and sit the guys down and be like, okay, here's the demo. We got 2 cars to do, the M5 and the M6. They will be different because the M6 is an LCI 6 series and the M5 is a pre-LCI 5 series, but more or less it's the same shit. So I'm gonna walk them through one with the expectation that they'll be able to take the second one and with a little bit of guidance, because there are some differences in the way the SCM hooks up and the TPMS, and then the, what button goes there, MDM mode. So those are gonna be a little bit different. But it's going to take a few days to go through that and every wire. And we haven't done one of these now in a few months. And like I've said, this is cyclical. We'll do 6 in 2 months, and then we don't do any for 10 months. It's really weird how this works. Anyways, I had leftovers for dinner from last night, which was delicious. It's about 10 o'clock. I'm waiting on this laundry to finish here at 5, and then I'm going the hell to bed. So hope you had a good Monday. We'll talk Tuesday.